Right now on Upfront.
A split edition from the state capitol.
It is about smoke and mirrors and a quick attempt to say, check.
State lawmakers racing toward the end of the legislative session and the hot topics heating up.
Any stall tactics to try to build support for your own crazy bill?
The intense debate on data centers, property taxes, and sports betting all on the line. And what's the reality that absolutely nothing gets done? This Sunday, our exclusive, Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, one-on-one from the Capitol.
Then the instant analysis from WisPolitics' J.R. Ross. What will actually get accomplished? And the Democratic candidates for governor on the same stage, the state of the race. Plus, statewide appeal.
On a scale of 1 to 10, this one's out of 10.
Our big reveal, an inside look at the new Milwaukee Public Museum.
Our collections are natural history collections and cultural collections, so why not say it in the name?
The sneak peek and the new push to reach even more visitors from across the state just moments away.
This is Upfront with Jaron Jordan and political director Matt Smith.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Another busy week in store at the state capitol.
Jaron, we're here inside the Assembly chamber. Lawmakers now here at the Capitol racing against the clock. Just weeks until the legislative session comes to an end, a number of hot topics and contention between Democrats in the Republican-controlled legislature and the governor over hot topics like rising property taxes and data centers. We sat down Thursday right here with Republican Assembly Speaker Robin Vos. Let's start with property taxes. A lot of Wisconsinites seeing big property tax increases. Yep. I think you talk with Democrats, Republicans, they agree on that. There was the bill in the Senate that passed to essentially repeal the 400-year veto. When is the Assembly going to take that up?
That'll come up in February. We're actually looking at all the options that we have on the table. I mean, I'm really proud of the work that we've already done this year. We got a bipartisan vote on no tax on tips. We got a bipartisan vote on making sure we don't have tax on overtime. We got a bipartisan vote on a data center regulation bill. So I look at this and feel like we have real potential to get stuff done. So I hope we can get a bipartisan vote on getting rid of the 400-year veto. We bring it up, and I hope we'll be able to have some kind of property tax relief that's real and meaningful.
In the 2023 state budget, Democratic Governor Tony Evers used his powerful partial veto powers to strike numbers and punctuation to allow schools to raise property taxes for the next 400 years. The governor likely won't sign this legislation to repeal his own veto. So if that's the case, what's the next step?
Well, we have to look how we can mitigate the damage. The most important thing is it's amazing when Governor Evers used the creative veto to create the 400-year tax increase. He took credit for it. He stood up and said, this is exactly what I intended. And now they're trying to scramble around saying this is why property taxes aren't going up. Of course it is. My own property taxes went up 24.7%. Most people I talked to had double-digit increases, the highest in 20 or 30 years. This is all because one thing occurred. It's not because the Republicans control the legislature, because we've had that for most of the last 30 years. It's not because Governor Evers was a Democrat who was here for 8 years. It's because of the one veto he issued.
Before that 400-year veto, we were going to referendum all the time, so they can use that as an excuse if they want to. Let's just get this done.
Evers, unveiling his legislative priorities earlier this month, is urging lawmakers to use some of the state's projected surplus for property tax relief. The new projections, $2.5 billion surplus. Are there conversations right now within your caucus about using some of that for property tax relief?
Sure, that's definitely one of the things we're looking at. I mean, don't forget, we had the increase in revenues coming in from the surplus. Well, $100 million of that's going to go to no tax on tips. About $350 million of that is going to go toward no tax on overtime. That still allows about $2 billion. So I assume we'll use a substantial part of that for additional relief, and I hope Governor Evers agrees. I mean, he came out and said he was wanting, I think it was 1.3 or 1.4 billion in property tax relief. Seems like a reasonable number to me. Maybe we could even get there. So you're open to 1.3 going back onto the levies? Sure. Yeah, some sort of property tax relief, sure. Even if the 400-year veto isn't repealed? Well, I want to work on that first, because again, filling a bucket that has holes in it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. We got to first plug the holes in the bucket, then you begin to refill it. So I want to have those conversations before I make any kind of a promise. This past week, Assembly Republicans passed their bill aimed at regulating data centers, adding protections, they say, for Wisconsin ratepayers, protecting municipalities and area waterways. You're close to this Microsoft project. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. They just announced 15 more they want to build on this site. First, in and of itself, with this project, is this only possible because of the failure of Foxconn? Well, don't forget Foxconn is there, and it has, I think, almost 2,000 people working at the site. So Foxconn did not meet the dreams that we had for the site, but I think the site is certainly meeting the dreams for Wisconsin. I mean, you look at the revenue that's coming to the Racine County, you look at the jobs that are being created. I think it's amazing that we have this facility ready to go, and thank goodness we did, or Microsoft would have never come. So that's really important. But what I would say more than anything else is, I don't think any of us predicted this massive boom in infrastructure that's necessary for data centers, right? Look, I think data centers are kind of a necessary evil. I don't think they're fantastic for Wisconsin, but I think they're fantastic for society. So in my mind, I want to make sure that we have the protections in place that guarantee that no one pays more because a data center is coming for their electric rates. Nobody has to guarantee that the land is, or nobody has a worry that the land is going to be turned back into something else that it wasn't promised to be. We're going to have less water usage than promised. And most importantly, it's going to be done in a way that's friendly to the environment by not requiring renewables to be spread all across Wisconsin, eating up farm fields. I think it's a winner. That's why we got a bipartisan vote. Now it just is up to people to say whether or not they can actually accept that we need to regulate data centers, or do they want to have some kind of Rube Goldberg contraption.
2 Democratic votes.
Yeah, that's still bipartisan. I'm an optimist, right? Democrats voted for it.
In terms of why aren't they fantastic for Wisconsin, data centers in your mind?
So I think that the idea of what they do is fantastic, right? I mean, they generate big property tax increases. They are going to help to fund local government. That is good, right? But I think they have done a very bad job at explaining why they're necessary in every part of the country and why Wisconsin is a great place for them to be. We have a reasonable tax climate. We have a good climate in general, because one of the things that is, of course, important is cooling. The best way to cool is by using the outside air during 7 or 8 months of the year, because it's naturally cool. That's good for them and helps keep costs down. So I think there are some natural benefits to Wisconsin, but again, I don't want people in Wisconsin to pay higher electricity rates to bring these data centers here. So to the credit of the energy companies, they have this new tariff that they're saying is all-inclusive. Our bill mandates that that occurs, so no one has to worry about having extra costs borne on their home utility bill because the data center's down the road. I mean, the Democrat bill wants to have 70% renewables. I mean, Matt, that is so absolutely unrealistic. It's scary, because right now we have 40 data centers in Wisconsin. If those 40 data centers were required to have power from renewables, it would require 75,000 Lambeau fields full of solar. It is impossible to have happen in Wisconsin. It'd be half the size of Menominee County. So the idea of where they are is totally unrealistic. Ours says if you want to have renewables, more power to you, but put it on the same site as the generating facility would be. That's what we need.
So it seems like we have Democrats here, Republicans here in terms of data center legislation. I mean, what's the reality that absolutely nothing gets done this session, and what's the fallout from that?
It shouldn't be that way, because I'm just going to reiterate it. One bill was bipartisan. Their bill is totally partisan and totally unrealistic. Well, let's wait and see. I mean, he said that about a lot of things, and then when he gets to his desk, he looks and says, this is the best we're going to get for Wisconsin. It's better for the people to have it than not.
Vos is the Assembly's powerful and longest-serving speaker, determining what bills receive votes or die in the legislative process. I have some friends who don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to politics, but they have asked me about the sports betting bill.
Oh, sure.
That's in the legislature. And I'm curious, first, as we sit here today, do you have the votes in the Republican caucus to pass the current bill?
You know, we haven't done a whip count, but I'm pretty optimistic that in the end, people will look at the facts. Look, let me start by saying this, Matt. I don't think online gambling is good for anybody. Right? If it were up to me and I could wave a magic wand, we wouldn't have it. But that's not the reality of where we are in the world. So I played cards with a group of guys, and I sat down and said to them, I'm not an online bettor. I said, have you ever heard of this FanDuel or any of it? One of them said, I tried to sign up, but I can't do it in Wisconsin. It must be illegal. The other guy said, oh yeah, no, you just go to this other site and you can do it today. And he showed him how to do it at the table we were playing at. Right? So we already have sports betting in Wisconsin. The only people who can't do it are the Indian tribes under the compacts. Well, why would I want to disadvantage tribes in Wisconsin that pay Wisconsin income taxes when we're already allowing people in other states and in other countries to have the same online sports betting? So again, if it were up to me, it would be banned everywhere. But it's not, and we can't. So why would we not want to make Wisconsin at least competitive so some of the taxes come here and the tribes have a right to offer the same product that people are already getting in Wisconsin, but probably nowhere near as regulated?
Is this going to get to a vote on the floor this session?
I hope so, again, because when you look at the facts, it's not about whether we're legalizing it or not. It's already happening in Wisconsin. People are already doing it legally because they can do it out of state. Why would we not want to give the Indian tribes who can do it in Wisconsin the same chance?
Let me ask you about a couple of bills that have passed the Senate. Some Democrats, even some Republicans, say that you're holding it up here in the Assembly. The Medicaid postpartum coverage extending to 12 months for new mothers. Is that going to get a vote here?
It could, but I would say this. I have been as steadfast as I can to say expanding welfare is not something we should ever do. So in Wisconsin, we have done it differently. We don't need to expand Badger Care because Governor Walker, when he was governor, did it differently to create a system where no one is uncovered. So if you are in poverty in Wisconsin, you're already covered by Badger Care, right? We don't need to expand Medicaid. If you are a mom that has a pregnancy, you have 9 months of coverage from Badger Care and 3 months after, and then once your 3 months coverage ends, you go on Obamacare and you can keep it till the child is 18. Why would we want to only give them 12 months coverage from the state and then they go on Obamacare anyways at year 1? Let's just put them on there at month 3. It's cheaper for the state, it's better long term for the mother, and it also gives us the opportunity to save money. It really makes no sense to me considering we've already done this reform that's different than most of the country.
Are you responsible for holding this up, as a lot of people say?
Sure, yeah, I think it's a bad move.
Yeah, and you've been pressured by even Republicans to get this on the floor.
Yes.
No one's changed your mind.
Well, no, because when I look at the facts haven't changed.
On Thursday, Voss and Democratic Minority Leader Greta Neubauer announced a joint proposal to fund Wisconsin Eye, the state's version of C-SPAN, which has gone dark because of a lack of funding. The two are proposing taking $10 million set aside in matching funds, putting it in a trust, and using the interest to finance the network's operations, a plan that would still need to win support from the state Senate.
We'll be putting out a bill shortly. It will be a bipartisan bill here in the Assembly, and we hope that the Senate will take it up soon.
I think Representative Neubauer and I have been in earnest trying to find an answer. We've been working with Senator Hesselbein and Senator Lemieux to try to see if we can find a consensus that works for both chambers. But I feel pretty good about the Assembly. We'll hope that the Senate comes too.
So you're okay with giving them state money without matching funds?
I am.
Why?
Well, because I still want to have them to be broadcast. Number one, I don't think it would be cheaper having it come in-house by having state employees do the same process. So I think having a nonpartisan entity like Wisconsin Eye guarantees that it's not going to be like the BBC or some state-run media where you only pick the things you want to see.
As the attention quickly turns to November, Voss says he's still contemplating whether he'll run again.
Have you decided if you're going to run again?
I'm talking about that. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to take some time with my family and talk that through, but I'll make an announcement in February.
How serious are you about back and forth?
I do go back and forth. I mean, I love the job. I love the fact that we're in a time where people want to get things done. Look, the fact that we were able to pass these bills, look, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, this bill on data centers, all bipartisan, right? That's what the work is. I want to make sure we can keep getting stuff like that done as we go forward.
All right, Jaron, coming up here from the Capitol, WisPolitics' J.R. Ross with us, a reality check, what actually can get done here inside the Capitol, and all the Democratic candidates for governor together.
Plus, our inside look at the new Milwaukee Public Museum, the new name, and the new statewide outreach. It's all new next.